Okay, so this is the third video in section 3-3, and in this video we're going to be covering quartiles. So before we actually talk about quartiles, consider the following. So how do you cut, or how would you cut a piece of rope into 4 equal pieces? If you didn't have any measuring tools, how would you do that? So one way is you would make the middle cut, right? Take a look at the rope, cut it in the middle, like fold it in half and maybe cut it in the middle. And then you would take a look at the lower part, the lower half that you cut, and then cut that in the middle, right? Middle cut on the bottom half. And then take a look at take the other half and then cut that in half. So this would create 4 equal parts, ideally, right? So 3 cuts to make 4 equal parts, to partition this rope into 4 equal parts. So now what does that have to do with quartiles? So quartiles has a similar concept, right? So quartiles divide a data set into 4 equal parts. So let's say we have a data set and we arranged it from smallest value to largest value. So to break it up into equal parts, we want to the process is we want to figure out what that middle cut is. So, or in other words, we want to figure out the median of the data, right? So the median of the data is the middle value when the data set is ordered from least to greatest. So the median is sort of like your quartile 2. So once you figure out your quartile 2, and essentially what you did was you split the data set into 2 equal parts. And then once you have that, then you're going to find the median, right, the middle cut of the smaller half and the bottom half. And you're going to find the median of the bottom. And then what that gives you is quartile 1. And then lastly, you would find the median of the top half, and that gives you quartile 3. So you have 3 quartiles, quartile 1, quartile 2, quartile 3. So 3 values that separates any data set into 1, 2, 3, 4 equal parts, right? So that separates the data into 25% each, 4 equal parts. So that's exactly the process if you want to figure out the quartiles. You want to make that middle cut first, and then take a look at the bottom half, make another middle cut, right? And then take a look at the top half, and then make a middle cut of the top half. So the steps are the following. Arrange the data in ascending order, right, from least to greatest. Determine the median, or Q2. Divide the data set into halves, right? So it's essentially when you find the median, you divide the data set into halves, and then Q1 is the median, the bottom half, and then Q3 is the median of the top half. So let's take a look at an example to see what we have here. So it says the following speeds of vehicles traveling through a construction zone. These are the speeds of that, and it's been arranged from least to greatest. It says find and interpret the quartiles for the speed in the construction zone. So here's the same problem, just in a different program. So the step is, you're trying to find Q1, Q2, and then Q3. So we want to start with Q2, right? That's the median of the median. Okay, so there is 14 values, I believe. 14 values. So we're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And because there's 14 value, there's 2 middle values. So anytime you have an even number of values total, there's going to be 2 middle values. So what happens when there's 2 middle values? If you guys recall, we have to take the mean of the 2 middle values, right? So in this case, the mean is 32 plus 33 divided by 2, which is 32.5, right? 32.5 is in between 32 and 33, and that's how you get the 32.5. Okay, so we know that right there is Q2, 32.5. And now to figure out Q1, you would take a look at the bottom half, and you would find its median. So the median of the bottom half would be the 28. So this would be Q1, right? So this is the middle value. It separates the 3 on the left, 3 on the right for the bottom half. So that's Q1. So that's 28. And then to get Q3, which is the median of the top half, you would just take a look at that, right? So 38 separates the bottom 3 here and the top 3 here. And that'd be Q3. So Q3 is 38. Okay, so what if you have a bigger list? Or what's another way you can do this? On your TI-84, you have a function on the TI-84 that would calculate all these quartiles, if you guys remember. And then the function is called 1var_stats. All right, so let's go ahead and go to the calculator, and let me show you guys where it's at. So if you guys remember, anytime you have a data set, what you want to do is put it into a you want to input it into a list. And to do that, you're going to go to stat, and then you're going to go edit, and then you're going to put it into one of these lists, right? So I'm just going to go ahead and put it into L1. Okay, so I've inputted my list into L1. And then from here, I'm going to run 1var_stats. So to do that, I'm going to go to stat and then go to calc. So press the right button and run 1var_stats. And then I'm going to run it on L1, which is where I stored these values. So we're going to go down. We don't need a frequency list because we don't have one. So we're going to calculate. And then we get a bunch of values, right? You should be familiar with 1var_stats. Has a lot of important values. But if we go down here, we have Q1 is 28, right? And then the median, which is Q2, is 32.5. And then the Q3 is 38. All right, it also gives us the minimum and the maximum, which is pretty cool. So these 5 numbers, the minimum, quartile 1, quartile 2, quartile 3, and then the maximum, it creates something, it's referred to as something, what we call the 5-number summary, which can create a graph called a box plot or a box and whisker plot, right? So let me just show you guys how that was, just kind of explain how this is. Okay, so this is how it's created. So once you have the minimum, quartile 1, quartile 2, quartile 3, and the maximum, so to create a box plot, you kind of mark off those 5 values, right? So you mark off the 5 values. So, and then what you're going to do is between Q1 and Q3, you're going to draw like a box and then draw like a line on Q2. And then like just draw a line to each of the minimum and the maximum, and that creates this diagram here. And this is what we call the box plot or box and whisker plot. So the in here is the minimum. The left side of this box is Q1. The middle value here is Q2, or the middle line here is Q2. And then this right edge of the box is Q3, and then this in his Q is the maximum. All right, so that's it for this section. Hopefully that was helpful. If you have any questions, again, please send me an email.